We go in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome. It's another powerful morning for everybody reaching us where in the world because we are global now through this great platform. I just want to welcome all of you and say God bless you and all of that. And as always, all you just need to do is to send via the links on YouTube. Then we will read all of them out and you will interact through this platform. We bless God for all of you joining us. And today, it's a couple of days to the election, and I want to preach a powerful message about nation building. And the message is titled Righteousness Exalts a Nation. I need to tell a lot of Nigerians that it's only righteousness that can exalt Nigeria. And it's not because I just want to say that's why I'm saying it, but because it is true. Because we've built a nation that because a lot of people are benefiting from the system, they don't have any need to be righteous. And you know what it has done? It has affected our nation. And it has pulled our nation. From the very first time in the history of Nigeria, Nigeria has been plagued by people that thought more about themselves than what is happening around them. And when you look at nations in the Bible days that fell, were because some people thought they were bigger than anybody. A great case in point in the Bible. And you remember what became the lot of Nebuchadnezzar. And there's still a lot of people that have that mindset. That's sort of like the Nebuchadnezzar mindset. That, it's righteous that can bring Nigeria up to the level it ought to be. The problem is, are we as ourselves, as a citizen, are we committed to the greatness of this country? And I ask that because we keep making the mistake that it is somebody else that will build our country for us. But we forget in a hurry that every nation that became good was built by its own people. Are we committed to the greatness of our country? I don't think so. A lot of Nigerians with their unrighteous ways have brought down the country. Don't get me wrong. There are other Nigerians that are doing great things, which we celebrate them. But when you have a population of people that are doing things to bring down their own country, then you forget that in the Bible, when God says, I'll bless your land, people cannot eat the fruit of the land because as God is blessing the land, a lot of people are also trying to bring the land down. So the question is, are you doing things in tandem with righteousness, exalting the nation? In any position you are, do you see yourself with the capacity to be able to change things? Or you see yourself in such a light that it is what I can benefit that matters more to me? And a lot of people are falling victim of that. They get into government and they say, it's my time to steal. And that's what they do. And trust me, they steal. And let me tell you, stealing didn't start from now in Nigeria. Have you forgotten the days where a federal minister stole so much money? That he became the life of every party in Nigeria in the 60s. Have you forgotten how much they met in his house when he passed? Do you know for how many years his family fought over his property that were as a result of stolen funds? And then now cascade is stealing down into the 70s. Now cascaded down into the 80s. I was with some people yesterday and they were telling me about a military governor that died at a point in time in this country. And when the military leader went to meet him, after condoling with the family, the military leader was about leaving. He wasn't even aware of the money that was stolen. Then the father of the man, the military governor, I'll give you a hint, of Kano State, now said, Your Excellency, sir, All the money my son was keeping for you, they are still here. Oh. The Excellency didn't know about the money. Oh. Abacha didn't know about the money. Even this Abacha we are talking of too was somebody that stole so much money that we are still getting repatriation of his funds today. Then he was taken to various, tanks, water tanks that there were no water in it, that was filled with money. But despite all of those stealing, the country still stands by the grace of God. But there are also people that say to themselves that, oh, let me be part of the stealing. But the question is, how long can you do that for? Because you see, for every resource you steal, just think about the schools that could have been built for children out there. Think about the resource that could have been built for children out there. Think about the good roads, the facilities, the amenities that could have been built for children out there. And that's why we say it is righteousness that exalts a nation. So wherever you are listening to the sound of my voice, you can look at it and say, you know what, let me just be part of it and steal my own. It's part of the national cake. But the question is, do you know the impact of the national cake you are stealing? Do you know the impact in the lives of the average people? Today now they say our population, 216 million, 133 million people are poor. But do you know the impact of the corruption over the years that has caused the poverty we're facing now? Somebody was telling me the other day that in some government parastatal, a common lift operator has homes in America. It is only in Nigeria that you see a case where civil servants own private jets and they maintain them. And we keep saying it is righteousness that exalts a nation. I tell you what, a nation cannot be greater than the mindset of its leaders. A nation cannot be greater than the mindset of its leaders. The day the mindset of its leaders become forward-thinking, the mindset of its people will change. The leadership of a nation is a sum total of the societal outlook of the nation. The reason why our leadership problem is deficient is it is a sum total of our societal outlook. But the question is, how do we form the societal outlook? We form the societal outlook through what society did see from other corrupt leaders. So for every display and affluence of wealth, society was seeing that and was taking note. And that's why today, you see 15-year-olds that ought to be thinking of how to pass junior WAEC. I mean, when I was 14, 15, the only thing I thought of was how to be able to pass junior WAEC, get A's and B's. That was my entire life priority. I knew I wanted to make a change and impact in the world, but I didn't know how. But today, 14-year-olds are telling you they want to drive Ferrari. Do you know why? Because they are seeing on social media how their political class are becoming billionaires by just going to government. So they think politics is to go and amass wealth. And they use politics as a means to steal. And that's not how to exalt a nation. Politics should be for service. Politics should be the capacity to be able to serve a group of people or a nation for greatness. But what do? They see politics as another parameter to be able to steal and to destroy. You see people that had nothing before they went into politics. They come out of politics and they become billionaires and millionaires. An average government functionary today that even hold the littlest position in government is close to being a billionaire. You know why? Because they have access to money and they steal. Have you ever wondered, somebody that served even as a commissioner, ask him what is his salary? I'm not sure that the commissioner's salary is worth $1 million or 2 million naira or 5 million naira monthly. But he's a billionaire. How come? He has access to money. So we need to reorientate ourselves, one. In this understanding that it is righteousness that exalts a nation, we need to ask ourselves, what do we want for ourselves as a country? You can't want to live the big life. You can't want to live the fab life by stealing government resource and expect the country to move forward. Because for every stealing you do, other people too have a right to steal, and the chain reaction continues. For a country to be successful, we need to orientate ourselves and say, yes, you can be rich when you provide value. The problem with Nigeria is that too many rich people are there because of what they gain in government, but not because of the values they provide. And that's why I dare you to say Nigeria is one of those countries with billionaires without portfolios of factories. The question is, ask an average government functionary, how many factories do they have to justify the bailouts? And when you coincide that also with bad government policies, then you see what happens to the state of the Naira. And that's why you see inflation has crept up over 20%, creamed the value of the Naira away. And because of that, then we're in penury as a people. So anybody that tells you, oh, there's inflation too abroad in the UK, when they make their funny arguments, ask them also that is inflation over 20% in the UK. Do you know what 20% inflation is? And even at 10, 11% inflation, see how people are groaning at cost of living. And now look at us that is over 20%. And even they're saying that our inflation should be well into the 50% percentile, that we are not getting the full figure. What brought us to all of these points as a nation? It is because we lack righteousness. So the first step in going back to the path of righteousness is orientation. What conversations are we willing to have with ourselves? Now we know that it is righteousness that exalts a nation. What capacity are we ready to build? What conversations are we ready to have with ourselves? I know there's going to be temptation, but can we put measures in place to stop the stealing? Can we truly put measures in place for government accountability? Yesterday, I was with a UNICEF official that was talking to me about something. And one of these days on the show, I'll still bring that because, you know, I have a political segment from 10 to about 11 where we talk to politicians, but I'll also bring in development experts. And probably maybe I'll bring her next week. She's the chief nutritionist of UNICEF. She'll connect with me next week, probably by the grace of God. And what conversation we're having. And she was telling me that there was supposed to be vitamin A pills that are supposed to be given to young people. You know, they have to be able to take their vitamins. But for every child in Nigeria, about 37 million children, government needs to just donate 200 naira so that they can get the vitamin A pills. And guess what? Government don't have money for it. Budget has not released. And because of that, a lot of Nigerian children will not get vitamin A pills this year, and their growth will be stunted. But hey, is it a case that there's no money? More lodged in big bank accounts of individuals, but at the expense of the people. So just imagine, if children cannot get their normal vitamins, like vitamin A pills that are supposed to be given, because government officials are not putting the money out there. They are saying, oh, there's budgetary problems, when you know that there's underlying corruption. Then how do we develop? So you can see that it is the lack of the righteousness that even stunts our growth. A lot of people are malnourished. Access to food is a big problem. Why? Because of the lack of development. So these are the conversations we need to have with ourselves. But when you go back to the word of God that says it is righteousness that exalts a nation, the question is, are you ready to be righteous in your ways, to be able to carry on the possibility of a great nation that God has given to all of us? Because government officials, because Nigeria are not putting the money out there. Travel from the coast, to the highlands and problems, when you know that there's underlying corruption and all of that. Then how do we develop? So you can see that it is the lack of the righteousness that even stunts our growth. A lot of people are malnourished. Access to food is a big problem. Why? Because, so these are the conversations we need to have with ourselves. But when you go back to the word of God that says it is righteousness that exalts a nation, the question is, are you ready to be righteous in your ways, to be able to carry on the possibility of a great nation that God has given to all of us? Because government officials, because Nigeria are not putting the money out there. Travel from the coast, to the highlands and problems, when you know that there's underlying corruption and all of that. Then how do we develop? So you can see that it is the lack of the righteousness that even stunts our growth. A lot of people are malnourished. Access to food is a big problem. Why? Because so these are the conversations we need to have ourselves with ourselves. But when you go back to the word of God that says it is righteousness that exalts a nation, the question is, are you ready to be righteous in your ways? To be able to carry on the possibility of a great nation that God has given to all of us. Because government officials are not putting the money out there. Travel from the coast, chain over the highlands and problems. But when you know that there's underlying corruption, all of that, then how do we develop? So you can see that it is the lack of the righteousness that even stunts our growth. A lot of people are malnourished. Access to food is a big problem. Why? Because so these are the conversations we need to have ourselves with ourselves. But when you go back to the word of God that says it is righteousness that exalts a nation, the question is, are you ready to be righteous in your ways? To be able to carry on the possibility of a great nation that God has given to all of us. Because government officials are not putting the money out there. Travel from the coast, chain over the highlands and problems. But when you know that there's underlying corruption, all of that, then how do we develop? So you can see that it is the lack of the righteousness that even stunts our growth. A lot of people are malnourished. Access to food is a big problem. Why? Because so these are the conversations we need to have ourselves with ourselves. But when you go back to the word of God that says it is righteousness that exalts a nation, the question is, are you ready? And it is what you will do for your country per time that will make your country be the signature of all eyes. So the question is, what do you even see for your country? What prospects do you have for your country? What is the vision and the possibility? So when you pinpoint that and you look at that possibility, then you can scale from there. So the truth is, there are actually possibilities that can emerge. Oh, thank you for the donations. I can see some people dropping money. Yeah, so we need a lot of money to run VOPO. It's not easy running a media like this. So we need a lot of money. Please drop money there, donate to us, via the bar. Would appreciate it. We need a lot of money. We're not taking money for some politician somewhere to run this, set it up on our own. So when you look at that possibility and you have a lot of young people, target them. So the most important thing is that how can we get young people to get skills that can work in economy and factory? Question is, if we have over 50 million people of school age, how can we give them the best skills possible to be able to harness in this economy? And that's why you should ask any presidential candidates that what's their youth plan? And I've always argued that the possibility of Nigeria to come out of the problems it's in today is the capacity of the youth bulge. It's a big advantage. And that's why I feel sad when you have a lot of young people doing drugs, doing alcohol and all of that. There's so much possibility that abound. So I've talked about number one, orientation. Number two, vision. What's about the vision? And number three, the possibilities. The possibilities are endless. See, if we harness the possibilities and we get leadership right, Nigeria can be a $1 trillion economy in about 10 years' time. I know currently with the inflation rate, we'll have eroded our GDP numbers and it will have dropped to about 400 billion, thereabout, 500 billion. But we can double our GDP in the next 10, 20 years if we harness the power of the young and the youth and we look at the possibility that abounds. So, these are some interactions, but don't forget 10 a.m. And normally we'll have another impactful session coming up, which is great, where we talk about nation building and we talk about possibilities for a brighter nation and all of that. And I've got guests coming up with me that they will join me and we'll talk some politics. And I'm also going to have a forum where I have supporters of various political parties come and debate these ideas and possibilities of their political party. I will be having a supporter, I think, of the Labour Party first. Then afterwards, I'll have a supporter of the APC, PDP, and all of that. Come and debate and all of that. So I've got a lot of messages. Good morning, VOP family. Good morning, my dear brother. Problem is that we Nigerians, Frank Wizia, acting like we can't even see the truth, but yes, and that's the truth. A better future for the children. I think, boy, you guys see, there are lots of people who are ready to serve and faithful and honest, but if you can't give money to people, they wouldn't vote for you. They always stick to money because that there's poverty in the land. But if we start to reshape that mindset, then things change. No leaders from Europe and area come to Nigeria to keep their money on their houses. But we will go to keep ours there. Can't you see the mindset? In Europe and America, people that come first. The question is, do Nigerians really have the fear of God? It's a big question. But yes, some Nigerians do have, but some don't. Boyega says, I have the opportunity with the German government who spoke to one of them. A guy told me that I should go to Nigeria to become a local government chairman. They will help me developing local government like Europe. If you have the possibilities, come. But it's quite, and you can make a lot of change. I keep telling the story of the powerful impact that you can make even in the local government sector and all of that. And it starts even with the local government. And there's so many things to be done, and that's why going forward, some of the things, I have so many things I'm planning on creating, in my local government and the likes that I'm looking for as possibility. Like currently I'm working at building a center where you can, educate the young people at everything. But also one other thing I'm working on is the possibility of, building agricultural farms and schools. So I noticed something that happens in here, that on big farms, children of farm workers hardly get educated. So I'm looking at the possibility of, okay, if you have a big farm where agricultural produce can be farmed and all of that, but also you have a school in between where you register children of farm workers so that at least they can get an education. I mean, it will go a long way. And my goal too in the next 5, 10 years is probably to build schools, as much as possible, build schools or renovate the existing ones and get more teachers. Because another problem is we don't have enough teachers. And that's one problem we don't know we have in our hands. We don't have enough teachers. And also, I'll be volunteering to teach myself, as much as possible, university, primary school, secondary school, because I'm a teacher, because I used to teach 6-year-olds at a point in my life in my friend's school in Oshogbo then, Tiny Tots. I used to teach 6-year-olds public speaking and elocution and all of that. And I also at Elisha Grammar School, at the point, some of my students at Elisha Grammar School still, make jokes at me of how very strict I was as a teacher to them and how I impacted their lives and all of that. I'm that kind of no-nonsense teacher because I want results and all of that. So, I mean, in those capacities, see how you can reach out and all of that. And I mean, if the possibilities are right, take up a teaching role and see how you can give back. I mean, that possibility is endless. The impact on the lives of people is just wonderful. So those are some things, that we should also look at doing, making our country a great country. Volunteer, go out there, teach. I don't know. I think companies now should even make it in such a way that as part of their give back, their professionals, accountants and the likes, they could pick a secondary school around them to volunteer for. Maybe during their break time, they go in there, teach for 1 hour, or they structure it, or they have weekend classes or something. It's a 1-hour class, and it goes a long way, and it's impactful. And there's so much to be done. So let's get to work. So I'll take a breather now. 10 o'clock, we'll come back. We'll talk to, some of our guests politically and all of that. We'll take a breather now, but I've been impacted. So share this message on this great episode of Impact with Rufai. This is changing lives, and this is, renewing possibilities. Righteousness that exalts a nation, but at first, we need to orientate ourselves. After orientating ourselves, we need to also look at the possibility of creating a vision, and then we need to see possibilities. It is possible. A lot of people are doing the things they do because they don't know the impact on the lives of people. God bless you. I'll see you by 10. Join the live stream again by 10. Then we harness some